Redditors who work or have worked in retail, what's your I'm about to lose my it moment you had with a customer? Had a woman come in and request a large drink in a small cup. I asked her to repeat that. She reiterated she wanted a large drink, but in a small cup. I told her that wasn't possible. This went on and on. Her yelling that it wasn't that difficult to understand. I'm trying to tell her that they are different volumes. Eventually I filled up a large, got a small cup and dared her while pouring the large in until it overflowed and went all over the counter. Some of our freezers went down and we had to pull stuff out to put it in the storage freezer. We had pallets and trying to get everything done fast. It was a whole ordeal. I was cold, wet, annoyed. This lady in an electric cart that smelled like it got mad because we were in the way and said, "I'm so tired of the laziness in this store. This is bullet." And before I could stop myself, I just yelled, "Well, you smell like it." I'm so surprised I did not get into trouble. I would completely understand if I did. Worked at Kmart, sporting goods and toys to be specific, during my high school and early college years. And people would often pull the "I found this product under this tag for a lower price, so does I mean I get it at that price?" Well, this one woman did this and would not let up. She had a football that rung up $30 but wanted it at the price of that tag where she found the product for $5, which was a fishing lure. I told her that I cannot price match based on that. What can you price match based on? I tell her, "So you won't price match this even though it was sitting there under the wrong tag?" "No, I cannot, I am sorry. I've had it done before. I've seen it done before so I know it can be done." Explain again how the price match policy works. We go round and round for about 10 minutes before she pulls the "Let me speak to your manager." This point I am pretty angry but reserved. I call my manager and then leave briefly to go get him and tell him about the customer and their complaint. We walk back to the counter and she tells him the same things she's been telling me. He says sorry about that mom and does a price override and gives it to her for the $5. After payment, the manager walks back. The customer gives me a snarky "duck you" look and walks away with her purchase. Duck you Bruce, duck you H. I was just doing my job and then I ended up looking like the asshole. No wonder Kmart failed. This wasn't an incident that made me angry, but rather I was going to lose my it in the sense this interaction made me feel like I was losing my mind. I worked at a weird Starbucks that was drive-through and walk-up only. There was no indoor seating. There were signs on either side of the walk-up window displaying a menu with a photo of each product that was listed. If I was working at the walk-up window I couldn't see the menu, even if I leaned out the window as much as I could. One day a woman came to the store, asked me a question about parking or something, and then ordered. She pointed at the menu and said, "Could I have that one?" "I'm sorry. Which drink are you pointing at?" She points again. "That one. I can't see the menu from here. Could you tell me what drink it is?" "That one. I really can't see the menu. Can you tell me what it says?" "That one." What the duck? Maybe she doesn't speak English. No. She asked me something in perfect English earlier. Maybe she's embarrassed to pronounce the drink name wrong. Maybe she's illiterate. What color is it? "That one." "Do you want a hot or cold drink?" "That one." "Do you want something with coffee? Or maybe something sweet?" "That one." "Did you want a frappuccino?" "That one." It went on like this for a while until I gave up and just rang her up for a grand iced caramel macchiato. She seemed perfectly happy with it when I handed it to her. Card machine was a bit slower than usual. "Man, this is terrible." "Me, yeah." "Man, you should fix this machine." "Me, yeah. We should." "Man, or replace it. This is a disgrace." "Me, yeah. That's an option too." "Man, you should be ashamed." "Me, yeah, I am kind of embarrassed." "Man, other stores don't have this issue." "Me, that's because they're better than us." Card payment goes through. "Man, this was terrible." "Me, yeah. Awful. Sorry for your trouble, sir." Man walks off grumbling to himself. IDK if this counts as retail, but I was an internet and aquarium, and while working at the touch tank, a kid swallowed a handful of sand. I told his mother, and she told me that he was only 4. He proceeded to swallow another handful of sand. Guy slammed a hot water bottle down on the counter and loudly exclaimed, with wife nodding in agreement behind him, that he'd put cold water in it 3 hours ago and it still wasn't hot. A girl asked me to get her a Buzz Lightyear toy from a shelf. Done. 5 minutes later her itchy parents are complaining that I gave her a boy toy. Personal feelings and rage aside, I tried to de-escalate with, yes, I suppose Buzz is a boy and a toy. Never got written up so fast in my life. I worked in a gas station where we had a notorious customer we referred to as Can Guy. Every month our station put coupons in the paper for 1.00 of free gas. 1 coupon per customer per visit. Can Guy would collect these coupons and then come park his car on the adjacent street and then go post up on one of our pumps and get gas. $1 at a time. He'd pump $1, come in and give us the coupon and go walk out to the sidewalk, off the property, and then turn around and do it again. Dart for hours. As a pump attendant we have to approve every pump by pushing a button. So every 3 minutes for hours at a time we'd be stuck standing at the till, doing the same transaction over and over. The longest I clocked him doing this for was 2.5 hours. Corporate added an addendum to the coupons because of him pulling that it. Edit. He was called Can Guy because he did all this with a 1-gallon red gas can. Worked at a gas station in the early 2000s. This guy pulls up and tried to pump gas while holding a cigarette in his hand. My story is not about a customer but about a sales rep. First, I'm a guy and I used to work at a pet store where Smart Pets shop. At our store, we would get sales reps to come in and try to sell whatever food they were trying to sell to the customers. One such person was a guy we will name Larry. Larry was an older gentleman and Larry was antsy. He liked to rub my shoulders and was very inappropriate with our female store manager Dana, not a real name, and me. The manager was a great manager and she was the main reason I stayed at that store. She was the nicest lady but she always got things done. It got so bad with Larry that I would go out of my way not to be near him. One day, I was setting up a puppy sales display when Larry came up behind me and slapped my backside. He said something creepy like "Did you like that?" and walked off with a smirk. My first reaction was to go to the manager and asked her to speak with me in her office. The conversation went like this. Me: "Hey Dana, I'm not comfortable saying this but Larry just walked up and slapped me in the rear." Dana looks furious before speaking. "Avon, he's done. I'm done with him. I'm calling the company right now." Double quote. And she did call his company. She also called Larry into her office and began screaming at him about harassment. He never came back to that store. TLDR. A Hansi food rep got his just reward for being an utter creep. Edit. Thanks for the silver, kind stranger. When I was a kid, I worked at a fast food restaurant and opened on the weekends. Toward the end of the breakfast rush, some guy comes through with a huge order. We were getting ready for lunch and didn't have anything he wanted already made, so it took us a few minutes to get it together. He starts cussing at me that he is late for church and I need to hurry the hell up. I explain that I will get his food out as soon as the cooks are done, but that's not good enough for him. I finally reached my limit and told him he should probably leave the house earlier next Sunday. Dude ducking throws hot coffee on me through the drive-through window. My manager sees this and asks me how much their food is. He then pulls that amount out of the register, throws it at the man, and tells him to get the duck out of his drive-through. The guy threatens to call the cops, and my boss told him they were already on the way and he needed to leave if he didn't want to get arrested for assault. I still wonder if he made it to church on time. Not retail but a restaurant. I was working as a waitress, and a woman stopped me as I was passing her table. She told me she got a rip in her stockings from one of our chairs. This was according to her 100% my fault, because I did not warn her about our chairs. She asked me if I had any clear nail polish on me or anywhere in the restaurant. I told her that I was sorry but I did not. This was to her so very strange. How could we not have nail polish in the restaurant? She got very angry, wanted to talk to someone else who could fix her stockings. I got my manager who also said sorry but there is nothing we can do about your stockings. He got told the same as me and how can we not warn people about the chairs? This went on for about 10 minutes because she just could not believe that I didn't have freaking nail polish in my back pocket. She accepted her stockings fate at last, but I got angry looks from her all night. Retiree in a red convertible called the girl working the headset a very offensive slur for Mexican because she had a slight accent, though she spoke perfect English. Manager overheard on headset, as she was getting trained by the manager, informed the man that Chick-fil-A doesn't serve racists, and told him he'd better go somewhere else for his food. Dude of course pulled up to the window, which we had closed, and swore at us for a minute before peeling out of the drive-thru. The guy behind him pulled up to the window and said, "I know you can't say it, so I will for you." What an asshole. Never been prouder to work at Chick-fil-A. Working in an ER has basically become like working in retail. I get this at least once a week. Me. Hi, I'm patient. WTF is going on with me? Me. Hello, I'm docked. Patient. Why is no one taking care of me? Me. I'm the ER doctor. Patient. This is the worst hospital ever. Me. Sir. What brings you in, Todd? Patient. I've been waiting for 4 hours. Me. Your chart says you got here 30 minutes ago. Anyways, what's bothering you this morning? Patient. You tell me. Me. The chart says you've had abdominal pain for 3 years. Can you tell me more? Patient. I'm not telling you shit. Me. Okay, well, may I examine you? Patient. Don't touch me until you give me pain meds. Me. Well, I can't help you until I know what's going on. Patient. FK you and FK this place. Me. Okay. Patient. I'm not talking to anyone until I see the damn doctor. Me. Okay, well, I'm Dr. Meropenem. Patient. You didn't tell me you were the doctor. I used to work in a perfume and makeup shop. An old Karen walked in and spent some time in the store, and then left with a Chanel lipstick that she didn't pay for. The security guy immediately went after her and told her that this counted as stealing, and if she doesn't pay for it, he would have to call the police. Karen came back shouting and saying some awful it to the security guard, making a huge scene. The manager came down, and Karen told her that she just wanted to see the color of the lipstick in the daylight. That's why she walked out. Note that it wasn't a tester, it was a product, and the security guard harassed her. At this moment the manager actually apologized and told Karen that the guard made a mistake, and that was the moment I lost my it, and I had to walk out before I say something that gets me fired. Managers like this give Karens power to do their it. Once, when I was hosting, some absolute fool wanted this specific table on the patio while we were slammed. I explained to him I could get him a table outside, but not that specific one, because there were 5 people waiting in line to sit outside before him. He just tuned me out and stared at the busser wiping the table down. He started walking towards it to go sit down, so I had to stop him and ask him to go back to the waiting area. It's like he had no idea how a line worked. I had to remind him that there were other people waiting in line before him. Then I took the rightful group to the table, and he bitterly says, "Oh, well, screw me." Huh. Like he was personally offended I didn't make 5 other groups wait an extra 30 minutes so he could have his spot first. This was a grown-ass man, 50-60 years old. I had to go into the walk-in and scream a little bit. Edit. Sorry, I just realized this isn't a retail-oriented story. I hope you still find it interesting though. Threw a pile of jackets at my feet and exclaimed, "Now you have something to ducking do." I was mid-transaction on the till. I was checking out one of my managers after she had punched out. She was using several WIC checks and I was the only register open. I called for another register when a line formed, but nobody came for whatever reason. So I go on processing the WIC checks and calling again every so often. The woman in line behind my manager starts to become pretty irate and starts berating her, telling her she should know better than to hold up the line, telling her she should let other people go first, telling her she's going to call and complain, etc. My manager's handling it pretty well, but I'm ready to throw the woman out of the store myself. She'd have been asked to leave a long time ago if she talked that way to any other customer. By the end of it she's going non-stop, just constantly harassing my manager while she's trying to concentrate and get the transaction over with. We finished the transaction without it escalating to a full-on incident, but every time that customer came in after that she got the stink eye from me. When I was a cashier at a grocery store, I had a woman come through with WIC checks, and she was trying to use them to get Hawaiian punch, chocolate milk, and a variety of sugary cereals. I told her those items weren't WIC approved. I knew all about WIC because I was on it myself, being pregnant and having a child under the age of 5, and she snapped off and said they were so WIC approved. I told her to check her booklet and informed her that some of the shelves in the juice and cereal aisle were labeled WIC approved, which was where the proper items were stocked. She told me the Hawaiian Punch had come from a shelf that was labeled WIC approved. There was now a line building behind her. More people than just her were becoming irate, myself included. So I half yelled, "I get WIC. I know exactly what you can and cannot buy with your WIC checks." Oddly, even though I'd raised my voice somewhat, she became as meek as a mouse and paid cash for her sugar fix. Mere minutes ago, some proper arsehole clone legit asked if he could speak to a manager because he was angry that he had used his overdraft and been charged for it. I work in a bank call center. This specimen stated that what we were doing was illegal, not stated in his Cs, and that he would be going straight to the financial ombudsman. Needless to say, his rambling was cut off by the swift release of the hang up button. I used to work at a video rental place, living the dream as a 19-year-old, and a customer comes in and asks if we sell movies. I say yes, so she starts walking along the wall of clearly marked rental movies, pointing at titles they want. I start telling them the ones we have in stock for purchase and the ones I will need to order in. They eventually comes up to the front and begins to pay. I tell them the total, a lot more than the listed rental price, and they get really confused as it's a lot more than they were expecting. I'm in the middle of explaining that they are new releases when it hits me. They don't know this is a rental place. I explain this kindly and carefully in that I have had to order them in. At this point they drop all pretense of niceness and in front of customers and my shift manager give me a look of pure disdain. "You are an idiot," they say. Yeah. Well, at least I didn't walk into a video rental place and try to buy the DVDs. They roll their eyes and huff out of there. Wish I could say my clientele only got smarter after that, but that would be a lie. Obviously, hypochondriac woman comes to my till wearing surgical gloves with her things in a bag. States she can't give her things to me because of money hands with a look of absolute disgust before reaching round and scanning her items. She then says she's paying in card and would like cash back, and I explain she needs to put her card in the machine and not use contactless if she would. She says yes, but then still pays via contactless and is then completely shocked when I explain she can't have cash back unless she makes another transaction with her card in. As I'd explained, she then had a massive go about how I should have told her before. Kinda glad she stormed out of the shop so quickly and I didn't have a chance to properly lose my it. Not me, but my fiancée. She recently became a barista and had this notoriously rude regular customer come in and order some complicated drink. My fiancée asked her a couple clarifying questions that I guess the customer didn't think she should have to answer, and I guess it pissed this customer off. Turns out customer knew one of the managers and texted him to complain. My fiancée then almost got written up, whatever that means. Apparently in a separate incident with a different employee, this same customer ordered a couple drinks, realized she didn't have her wallet and then straight up asked if she could just take the drinks for free. Employee didn't let her, and so the customer again called one of the managers. I worked with a guy who punched a customer once. He was standing at the register and a customer came in to return a set of tools and literally threw the set down on the counter, causing screwdrivers and tools to fly across the counter and hitting the employee. I worked in a couple record stores when I was young, so I've got a ton of stories, but one stood out that applies to your question. We had this one guy, whose last name was a common vegetable. This dude would come in once every couple weeks and go through our import singles and dance sections, find a small handful and bring them up to the counter. But no, not to buy them. No sir. He would first ask for his hold pile that was around 30 discs. He'd then sort through them, pick out a few to purchase and then have us put all the remaining back on hold. The whole time he'd be doing this, he would not allow you to leave his side. This process took up to 45 minutes. I know. The first question you're thinking is, why even hold them? Put them back out. Well, we tried that. He would come back in and we'd tell him that we put all the hold back out. He'd crab quite a bit, and then go out into the store and re-find them all, bring them back up and buy a few, and place the rest on hold. If we refused to put them on hold, he'd go and hide them in the store. If we followed him around to make sure he wouldn't hide them, he'd browse until we got busy with another customer and then hide them. We got to the point that we'd nearly ignore him and we just threw them in a box that we left behind the counter. He'd come in, and we'd heavily drop the box on the counter and ask bluntly what he plans to buy today. Nobody wanted to be the unfortunate soul that got stuck with him. It was an exercise in temper management. A friend worked at a really busy McDonald's, and one time a customer kinda threw the money at her disdainfully because they had taken too long to serve her. My friend let her anger get the best of her and threw the change back at her. The customer asked to speak to the manager to complain, and after she told him what had happened, he said that she shouldn't have thrown the money at his employee if he didn't want the change thrown back at her. The woman was outraged and threatened with vague consequences, but the manager was like, "What are you gonna do? Boycott McDonald's? I think the company will survive that hard blow." Bra ducking though. Worked at a clothing store. A woman tried to return something she clearly worn, washed and ruined. We told her there was no way we could accept it and she demanded to speak to the manager. Manager came out, told her the same, and this woman left screaming that she hoped the store would burn down with us in it. Worked part-time retail whilst at university. One night we'd closed the shop but there was still a customer shopping round, so we went and asked her if she could leave as it was now about 10 minutes after close and she had shown no intent of buying anything. The woman then proceeded to look down her nose at all of us and states that she's a doctor and so she should be allowed to continue. Frankly, I don't really care what a person's job is as it doesn't entitle them to it. And looking down on every member of staff in the store when most of us were all students studying pretty solid degrees. She definitely needed some basic skills in respect more than she needed some new clothes. Years ago I worked at Chick-fil-A. It was my first real job, so dealing with irate customers took some getting used to. It was even worse since we had the reputation of being the nicest fast food employees and all that jazz. Anyways, one day I'm working the drive-thru and a lady comes through and orders a spicy chicken sandwich. Alright, I read it back to her. She said it was fine. I read it back to her again when she got to the window. Again she confirmed that she ordered a spicy chicken sandwich. I think I even said it one more time when I handed her the food. She drives off and parks in the parking lot, which if you worked at our Chick-fil-A was a oh it moment. The lady comes up to our front window, we were a drive-thru only CFA, and begins to scream about how she hadn't ordered a spicy sandwich. I told my manager that she did, but whatever. The kicker was that she was pregnant and accused me of trying to kill her baby, as if a spicy sandwich would do that. We just gave her a free regular sandwich and she went on her way. Finally, no 2 weeks later I walk into work and one of my co-workers asked me about it and what the woman was driving looked like etc. Turns out she had come through before I started my shift and did the whole thing again. Right down to the "are you trying to kill my baby" line. It was then and there that I knew I wanted to be nowhere near customer service the rest of my life. Karen, I'd like to get my money back for this lotion, it made my eyes burn. Alert. I'm sorry mom, we don't issue refunds for open products. However, you may exchange it for another. Karen, no, I'd like my money back. Alert. I'm sorry, but I can't do that. This policy is stated on the back of the receipt I gave you when you purchased it. Karen, I'd like to speak to a manager. Alert. I am the manager. Karen, this is extortion.